the whole family values, which honestly, I don't care that much for. Like they say, oh, Joy really wants someone, right, to share this overwhelming feeling, and they want, like, Joy wants that person to be her mother. But like Joy could have had that person be her girlfriend, right? They seem to have a very good chemistry. They seem very happy together. I don't see why it has to be your mother. And this whole idea that like that might be a hot take, that family needs to be like that connection that you must have. If you want a connection, it has to be your family. I don't think that's the case. If her mother was like a raging homophobe, it's fine if you don't want that connection with your family. And it can be, the connection can be with, friends. And if you can't have friends, your girlfriend or your partner. And if you can't have a partner, well, it can be a streamer. I'm not targeting you guys, not at all, I promise. Rocket Supreme says Banshee of Inisherin had more of an impact on me, to be honest. I don't know if it had more of an impact on me though. It was definitely interesting, but I did like it. And the whole idea of Banshees of Inisherin is being able to, at least from what I can tell, is like it's curating your friends in a way, right? You're curating your connections. Like if someone bores you, whatever, Podrick is like put it aside. Like I don't want to be your friend anymore. Like putting your boundaries. And for EEAAO, the daughter like doesn't want to put her boundaries, but I don't know. I feel like she could. And like at one point she tells her mom like let me go. Like she wants her mother to let her go, right? And the mother is like actually no, like I'm your mother and I want to be, I want to be in your life and all that. But like what if Evelyn doesn't want to be like in your life? That's super valid as well. Yeah, Margot says I've disowned my biological family, so agree. You can have connection with whoever also wants connection. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this cultural and social pressure to actually have connection with your parents, or not just parents, just family in general. Like it's really hard to have that connection. It's really hard to cultivate it, because that your family and your parents and all that not only are from a different generation, but a different interests, different everything. You don't necessarily share anything in common with these people. And had they not been biologically associated with you, they wouldn't be in your life. I understand the whole push for family, but at the same time, it can't be at the expense of its members. For example, Joy, who seems very unhappy, at least at the beginning, and she would love a more comprehensive mother. And she doesn't even get her at the end, but like she gets a more comprehensive mother at the end. But like I don't know how long that will last, right? At the beginning of the movie, you see them happy together, the daughter and the two parents. They're doing karaoke and they're actually having fun, right? But then it goes back to square one. She's not happy with her mother's attitudes towards her relationship, towards her life choices, lifestyle. And how long will the conclusion last before her mother all again falls on her nerves? Paige says, yeah, the conflict with family is a very queer centric storyline. That conflict, yeah, in that movie, yeah, and like it doesn't need to be like queer centric. In that, I think it's queer centric in that storyline. I'm sure there's like other dissensions. No, because one of the like the tattoo was one of the points of contention, right? Not necessarily a queer thing. Shaved head for the girl as well. I mean, the shaved head might be a queer thing, but not necessarily, right? Yeah, Fenfax says the movie felt a very stale view at Asian communities. Not that you can't show all the conservative elements, but bro, can't have characters left in this almost suffocating lifestyle just because love. Yeah, and I feel like it contributes to this pressure. I don't know if it contributes, but it does speak of this pressure that, especially with immigrant parents who don't even speak English, like let's say, or have like hard time speaking English. Like Evelyn does need help from Joy to do the translation at the tax with the tax lady. Like there's this whole idea that you can't leave your parents, especially if they're immigrants, even though there's such this disconnection because their experience is so different from yours. But you can't leave them because leaving them would be betraying them, and very often they did all of this for you, for a better chance for you at life. So in a way, you feel like you owe them, and then like you translate for them. Very often, you have to, you have to not educate them, but you have to help them navigate this country that they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of, and you do because you were born in it. So all of that makes it so that the children of immigrants feel like they have this, they owe their parents, and this debt feels like it can, like, when does it end? And very often a lot of people feel stuck in these relationships because they feel like they have a lifelong debt to people who feel completely different, who experience the world completely differently, to a point where it becomes antagonistic. And I hope that, like, people who are white, who can't even conceive of that experience, because maybe they're not in conversations with people of color often. Like, I feel like that's such a like a huge example of a thing, of an experience that you can't, well, you can have to a certain degree if you have conservative parents, but this lifelong debt that I'm talking about is can be seen a lot in the children of immigrant stories. Narrow, hello Narrow, by the way, welcome, welcome, welcome. Says, I had a partner who is completely swallowed by the guilt of their immigrant parents, to the point that it's like, what's the point of bringing them here to be slaves to your whims? Yeah, it's frustrating, especially when you're not from, like, living that experience, because you're like, just break free of those shackles. But it's like the it runs deep. Yeah, Ruckus Supreme says, I have a friend who is from Pakistan and another from Mexico. And they both discuss this sense of being indebted to their parents and their parents, to their parents and their parents to their parents. All right, it's incredibly sad. Yeah, it is sad. It's like, how do you break that mold? Like, would giving a word to that phenomena help people? Because people understand that experience, but it's like, if there's a book about it, I would definitely read it. Like, maybe like this servitude, or is it this debt? Yeah, Telegram says, even several generations down the line, that obligatory loyalty to your family, no matter how they treat you slash talk to you, expectation still runs deep. And I think it's getting better now, and I hope it is. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's better now, in the sense that it's easier to get away from your, like, because of we like the whole idea of like family being, like, the whole traditional value of family being a bit more left to the side. It's easier to leave, but at the same time, it's still very important in our culture, and I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once does attest to that, right? To this idea of loyalty to your family and all that. And like you can have still a very good relationship to your family. I think Joy actually wants a relationship to her family. It's just, does she actually want it because she craves for it, or she craves the ideal of a great family that she craves for, or does she do it because of, like, societal and cultural pressures? Generational debt, is that actually a thing? Gatsby is dead, or are we deciding to making it up together? It's really hard to, like, talk about family. Like, just Elvira De Santos, who says, hey man, I subbed since the Dali and art video. I can sense where your head was at. I really identified with how you think. Like, just this connection of, like, oh, I identified with how you think, we agree on something, we share ideas together, is going to be a connection that you might not even have with your biological relatives. Like, you might have still connections with your biological relatives just from the fact that you had, like, a past with them, but you won't have, like, necessarily this connection that, like, even this parasocial connection between, like, myself and you at home. This parasocial connection has a strength in the sense that, like, we have shared interests. It does come at, like, with pernicious effects, of course, because you won't be social, like, parasocially, like, connected to your relatives, but at the same time, you might not have anything in common with relatives. It makes it really hard, or it can make it really hard. Yeah, Paige says, I think rich countries are the oddballs with the individualism. Most societies are a lot more bound up in familial bonds. Yeah, I do think our individualism, I'm not against it though. I'm definitely not against it. I feel like family structure, at least the way we think of it, and the way often it's more conservative, right? But it's can lead to very authoritarian structures, especially in terms of elders and younger people, or like the hierarchy between the two. That I want to talk about one day. Something called gerontocracy. I'll show you just because I'm not sure I'm spelling it or pronouncing it correctly. Let me show you what gerontocracy means or what it is. It is a form of oligarchical rule in which an entity is ruled by leaders who are significantly older than most of the adult population. So basically, the United States. Nancy Pelosi, right here. But the whole idea that gerontocracy is like in terms of family units is also very prevalent. And it's the whole idea that older people have more wisdom and therefore have or deserve more power in a family unit. And the problem of not being able to see each other as equals because of that. And at one point in time, this idea that older people are wiser and have more knowledge was, I believe, legitimate. In a time when like knowledge was only accumulated through speaking and through actually doing stuff, that was for sure, right? If I lived in a world where books weren't accessible, the internet, we don't even know it exists, or you can't even conceive of the internet, then older people, yes, are wiser, more knowledgeable. And if I want to know how to tend a garden, I'll go to the older person, to the elders or whatever. And there's this importance in for gerontocracy in those conditions and in that context. But as all my Marxist friends in will say, the the material conditions changed, and now we can have access to books, we can have access to the internet. And though we might, because we're younger, not have as much time to access all this information, there's so much of that information that I feel like, as a 26-year-old, I can talk eye to eye on the same equal level than someone in their 50s or 60s. Maybe they'll know more about some things than me on some issues, obviously, but I might know more than them on some other issues, just because there's so many issues to look at and to study and all that. And I don't think age is as much of a factor anymore. Of course, I'm not saying that like a 6-year old is on par, right? But I don't think that age is necessarily a factor anymore in terms of power or even knowledge. And knowledge is power.